This is Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff and some of the homies.
Pow, 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 not Alex, pow.
What are you talking about? Alex is so excited. Look at it.
Those of
Alex
you
is with
listening,
us. Go ahead.
Alex on the YouTube, it's just going to be there, a picture of him smiling the entire time. So, like, this is my moment. WVU sucks. Oh, look, he's smiling at it.
More to come on that. You're gonna have something to say, Jim. Today is Tuesday, May 28th, and here's hoping all the loyal listeners and their families enjoyed a Memorial Day weekend and spent some time reflecting on the holiday, its purpose throughout some portion of the weekend. Hope everyone had an enjoyable one, but hopefully you reflected a little bit on what the meaning of the holiday is.
NASCAR.
NASCAR happened? That's like the last thing that was on my radar. But sure, Jim, you can talk about NASCAR sometime later. This weekend, sports did bring us a pretty good bit. We had the Indy 500.
That happened
We had
after a 4 hour rain delay.
yeah, and there were other rain delays throughout the weekend. I know F1 was in Monaco, which is their big thing, but I haven't seen anything about it. We have a landmark settlement or ruling that is intended to pave the way for direct payment to student athletes in the future from colleges and universities.
Ugh. I don't even know what to do with that.
The NFL draft will be coming to Pittsburgh in 2026.
Are we excited?
It's exciting for Yinzers. I guess the Rooneys, Art Rooney, had tried for years to get the Super Bowl to Pittsburgh. And I guess one of the reasons, I don't know if it was the primary, if it was one of the reasons it was like a stickler, was that they didn't have enough hotel space. And that was like something that said no, not the weather, nothing like that. So this is like one of those, for people in Pittsburgh, they're thinking this is a way for Pittsburgh to prove that we can handle an event of
I
this stature.
The traffic alone, you can't handle it.
Yeah.
He's not wrong.
I'm sorry, guys. Like, I understand as a show, this should be super excited for us, but like the journey there sounds hideous.
Doesn't sound hideous.
Yeah, it does.
It is hideous. There's nothing
Yeah.
sounding about it.
Like,
Uh,
I don't want to risk my life to go there.
I think you're risking your life.
I've gone to Pittsburgh, Muff.
That's not risking your life.
If you make it in and then trying to get out,
Yeah, that could be an issue.
that
Uh,
entry into the tunnel,
See,
good
that's why
Lord.
that's why anytime recently I've stayed at Station Square and taken the
mm,
Clipper over and going out West End. But the hardest part about that is waiting at the damn line at the West End Bridge.
yeah. You get on top, ride the incline down, do all sorts of things, and then take a trolley across, do what you got to do. Um, Speaking of wild trips and vehicles, Scotty Scheffler incident video was released, sort of. We saw
Because there weren't really cameras.
something that happened that was not very flattering for the officer, I will say.
Yeah.
But we got some additional footage, or actual footage of the incident itself, just not all of it.
Are you
Uh,
saying footage? Is this a Ginzer way to say footage?
Footage,
Oh my God. It's a Ginzer way to say footage.
footage.
This is the first time I've ever heard Muff actually legitimately not say a word correctly. Footage.
Footage.
Footage. You hear how you're saying it?
I hear him saying it.
Thank you.
What do you say?
Wow.
Footage? Footage?
Yeah.
Yes.
Footage.
Oh,
So if you're talking about the square footage of your house,
Footage.
moving on.
Antonio Brown has filed for bankruptcy.
Yeah, but isn't that just like a ploy?
Oh, I don't. We're gonna get into the whole net worth wealth thing that he's got going on. I found a thread on Twitter that breaks down a pretty good bit about.
That sounds like a reasonable source.
Yeah. I think this was a reasonable source.
I like how it's a reasonable source when you call it reasonable, but if I use it, not reasonable. I think we're back from technical difficulties.
don't worry, folks. We didn't go bankrupt like Antonio Brown.
Oh, call back.
Oh,
But according to
to
Muff,
five
maybe we
seconds
should
ago.
check. Maybe we should check Twitter
Check the footage.
or the footage.
How do you guys say it?
Photo doesn't lie.
How do you guys?
Footage.
If you were to spell that phonetically,
Muff. Hold on. I'll spell it phonetically.
oh no, you can't look it up and then
F-O.
spell. You can't
It's.
look it up and then spell it to me. No, that's
I
not
had
how
to
this
make
goes,
sure it was
Jim.
correct.
No, what? Did you define phonetically correct in your mind?
It's foot. Footh.
Phonetically, it's
Fage.
Fooddig.
So does that mean that Muff
D-I-J.
has to pronounce it or football now?
Yeah, it's football.
Footage. Phonetically, by the dictionary, it's footage. Foodij.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's
Are you
not.
saying that you looked this up when you said you weren't?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Wait, well, yeah, okay. All right. If you're doing everything by phonetics, Muff, you're saying a lot of shit wrong.
Apparently, we all are.
All right. Well, let's move on to you and Alex have an announcement, but Alex isn't here. Muff, you and Alex have an announcement. I'm gonna look at Alex here.
You can look at Alex. This is very much up Alex's alley, but I am along for the ride here. Alex and I are season ticket holders for the West Virginia University Mountaineers.
Shut up.
We are.
Season ticket holders.
We have season tickets because it makes all the sense in the world to get those season tickets for the $300 ticket for the Penn State game.
You bought season tickets.
Alex and I have season tickets. We also have chairbacks that will be at our seats when we get there.
For one game.
Oh, there's 7 home games, Jim.
How are Nate and I supposed to sit with you at this game that we all agreed to go to?
I don't know. You guys can get season tickets if you want.
All right. I'm just want to make sure we didn't think this out. We just said, you know what? Alex and I are going to get in.
Just so we're clear, Nate was at the bar with us whenever Alex and I pretty much made this decision and did not bring up any of these issues that you just raised.
That is a full statement.
Nate is the quiet one.
I am, but no, this conversation was had on the day we were supposed to go to the driving range.
Yeah.
You have phones. You could have said, hey, Jim.
Hey,
You
Jim,
wanted
what?
to be a season ticket holder for the West Virginia
Yeah,
Mountaineers?
you wanted to be a
that's
season
a fair
ticket holder,
point.
Jim?
That's a fair point.
We asked Nate.
Yeah, no, fuck West Virginia.
I expected that was your. Yeah, I didn't expect you were going to spend $500-ish to be a season ticket holder for West Virginia.
Well, how many games are you going to go to, bud? At least one.
Yeah, Alex and I will probably go to, I would say, at least 2 or 3, and then we can sell some tickets off and we'll figure it out. There's 7 home games.
All right.
And, if things get really cool at the end, maybe they'll be competitive and we can go to a game towards the end of the year that means something.
Fair enough.
Or sell those tickets and people want to buy top dollar for them.
Fair enough. In ticket news, my wife has entered the student pool because she's working on her master's. And that, according to her, should put us in line for 2 tickets to every game
At Ohio State.
at Ohio State. Should.
Because of her.
Because she's a student there now.
Yeah, but why does that give? Why does she have a better opportunity than others?
Because she's a student.
But why
There's
does
a
she have a
student-
better opportunity than others? It sounds like
There's-
this is a foregone conclusion, not I'm in the raffle.
Oh, because every student is placed into a raffle, whereas like us common folks are not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's just a better opportunity for students to get tickets.
Yeah.
Got it. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Because it's only students versus students.
Yeah.
It's only student on student violence.
Correct.
Got it. All right. Well, good luck, Jordan.
Yeah. Here's
And
hoping
Jim.
we get some
And
tickets.
Jim.
Exactly.
In that case, and Jim.
I
Thanks.
will be going to the Marshall game, Ohio State versus Marshall. That is a foregone.
No matter what. That's happening no matter what.
He's gone.
I'm
He's
back.
back.
I'm back.
That's that Pennsylvania Wi-Fi
All,
right
all
there.
sorts of technical issues at the moment.
That's why we're not Yinzers, Nate.
I know.
I mean, this is probably West Virginia Wi-Fi, to be real honest, right on that border. Uh, so yeah, Jim's going to High State Marshall.
Oh yeah.
Thanks as always as interacting with the content on social media. Make sure you catch us on YouTube at Sports Jim Muff on Instagram and Twitter, Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff on Facebook, on YouTube. All of those action verbs.
Get the bell on.
Nate, do you have one you
And
want
since
to?
Alex is in here, I'll say ding ding.
Thank you.
And before we get into some discussion about the sports world, first, rest in peace to Bill Walton and Grayson Allen.
Crazy. Those are some big ones.
Bill Walton just passed away on Monday from cancer. And Grayson Allen is the PGA Tour member who withdrew from the tournament on Friday and was found Saturday morning dead. And it later came out that it was a suicide. So
Wild.
Grayson Allen is somebody who had battled and publicly had battled depression and addiction, anxiety, everything that kind of adds up for bad news, and had put out there that he was doing well, had been doing much better, and then this unfortunately all came to be over this past weekend. So all the thoughts and prayers with
T's
Bill
and
Walton,
P's.
Grayson Allen, and their families.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we are going to start out today in the racing world, where hopefully Jim's going to be able to give us some info on the Indy 500 and Josef Newgarden and what Kyle Larson was trying to get done over the weekend.
I think it's Joseph. That's what we were calling him. I'm trying to give you. Just give me a second. I'm looking up for a name, but basically, old boy wins the the Indianapolis 500. Goes back to back. Won last year, wins this year. Ends up winning a $4.2 million purse. For Team Penske. Penske happens to be the chairman of the Indy 500. I think basically owns the track. I'm not 100% sure. Owns that team. Mr. Newgarden, his engineer and his crew chief were suspended for this race because they were caught cheating in previous races. The last person to go back to back was Julio Castroneves. He went back to back in 2021 and 22. So, no, 2001, 2002. I apologize. So over 20 years since somebody went back to back. The ending was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal if you like racing. He got passed. He did a pass. He got passed. It was back and forth at the end. It was wild. Now to explain the back-to-back or the trying to do a double. NASCAR driver Kyle Larson went to race the Indy, and had it not been weather delayed, he would have gone on to race the Charlotte 600 in NASCAR. And that also rarely happens. Kyle Busch did it. It's also phenomenal because that's a shit ton of miles.
Yeah.
And the distance and the prep and blah 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 blah. It gets kind of sketchy in so much as Kyle Larson proved that he was a rookie at the IndyCar. He downshifted when he shouldn't have. He sped through pit lane. You could tell he was a rookie. But with the weather delay, he didn't make the race. And NASCAR had delayed their race to kind of help him make it. Then a weather delay hit Charlotte, and as Kyle Larson is coming to the track in a helicopter, a caution came out for weather. Now, was weather coming? Yes. But the dramaticism was, well, this rain's going to pass. This will help Kyle get in the car. This will help ratings. The weather delay might have screwed him, but at least we'll get him in the car and we can say he did the double. Rain didn't pass. They called the race. there's some other issues. You have to start a race every race to qualify for the cup. In NASCAR, people are wondering if Kyle Larson's going to get an exemption from NASCAR because, he's pulling ratings in for NASCAR.
Yeah.
There's a lot of drama and like, is it rigged? It definitely felt rigged as you're watching it on television. Kyle Larson finishes 18th at Indy, led 4 laps, but that's racing.
That's racing.
I mean, it's rigged. It's a setup situation. Like,
You ain't first or last.
it's
Apparently,
very,
it doesn't matter what you are as long as you have the team that owns the track.
yeah, yeah.
Is racing like sports entertainment? Can we call it racing anymore?
Ooh, I don't think it's ever not been rigged. Like, it's always somebody's cheating. And if you have the most money, you can cheat better. Like, that's racing. I think even if you went to your local dirt track, they would say the same. Like, you got the most money, you can cheat the best, and that's
But
just how it
it's
is.
whether you get caught.
Exactly.
From cheaters to, I don't know what we're gonna
Cheaters.
call it, the NCAA. I don't know if they're cheaters.
Yeah, they're cheating somebody.
There's a good chance somebody's getting the raw end of this stick.
Yep.
An NCAA settlement from this past week and what may come from it. The NCAA and its 5 power conferences have agreed to allow schools to directly pay players for the first time in its history ever.
But only D1.
Yes, at this moment. If the $2.8 billion settlement is approved by a judge, it would allow for a revenue sharing plan for D1 athletes to be paid directly by their schools for playing sports. This would start as early as 2025, as the 2025 seasons. And D1 schools would be allowed to use about $20 million a year to pay their athletes.
We put a pin right there and have a conversation.
20 million start.
Break that down. If you're an athletic director or a president of a university or board, how do you budget that out to your D1 programs?
How do you do it?
Yep.
You you don't. You then say NIL, this is what we need to be able to do this well.
I don't think that's how that works because of Title IX, right?
Well, the NIL is not going to be governed by Title IX.
But this is.
This will be. It should be. Let me phrase that. It should be.
I think it has to be.
Mm,
NIL is separate from the
through
school.
profit sharing. Yeah, I guess if it's profit sharing through the NCAA, it's going to be it's going to be part of their operating budget. Assuming it's part of their operating budget,
Right.
they would have to. So that is a question of how you're going to do this fairly. I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be left to the NCAA. Hey, conferences and schools, figure it out.
Yep.
That's
You
their normal.
know that's how that's going to work
That's their
out.
normal way to do this. Not, hey, we've vetted this and this is how you can do this fairly and equitably.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, there's going to be issues, but I mean, in the end, the NIL is still going to be there.
But the NIL is
pennies.
going to be a supplement.
This is pennies. The student athletes are going to get
I
20 million
disagree.
amongst all student athletes.
I disagree.
Barely?
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to switch. I think the NIL, the ruling is you can pay athletes. Here's 20 million. Okay.
Mhm.
I think NIL will feed into the schools and the schools will pay down. And that's the ruling. Like, that's the language. You could pay, hey, you said we could pay our athletes. You didn't say how much we could pay them. And then the schools will legitimize NIL.
NIL is already legitimized.
It will be controlled by the school.
I need an example. I need you to explain how you feel this is going to go down.
So, you know how, and I'm trying not to reveal our lives too much. A foundation, an NIL foundation.
There's already NIL collectives at all these schools, Jim.
Will raise money and donate the money to the school, and the school will pay the athlete instead of it being directly from the NIL, so that the school can govern the money and ensure
I
that it's
no,
done correctly.
I think the 20 million is the one that's going to have to be equitably distributed.
Sure,
They still want
sure.
no, they still want NIL to be its own, to be the Wild West, Jim.
I don't think so.
They want it to be, because if it's not, then guess what? It's subject to all Title IX.
I think that's why they came up with the agreement, because they understood the NIL was too Wild West, and I think that's why they said, "All right, let's rein this shit in. Let's run it through us."
Nah, I disagree. I think NCAA is doing this because of these antitrust cases, because of the money
You
that
might
was
be
made
right.
off of athletes. I mean, that is exactly what happened. Because there's going to be people for the past 10-ish years that are going to be given money because of the antitrust cases. Um, these are from these multi-billion-dollar agreements to settle these three pending antitrust cases. NCAA is going to pay more than $2.7 billion in damages over 10 years to past and current athletes. This is from sources that told ESPN. Those sources said that parties have all agreed to a revenue sharing plan that will allow for this $20 million. So, hey, we're going to drop all of this as long as we and others in our situation over the past since 2016 are made whole, but are made a little bit better off. Like, think of the Johnny Manziels that were coming across a lot of money illegitimately, but would have made so much more money probably if he had access to NIL opportunities. I think you're talking about those types of figures that may not that may have been getting the handshake deals, but with NIL would have been doing so much better. All Division One athletes dating back to 2016 are eligible to receive a share as part of the settlement case. In exchange for this, athletes cannot sue the NCAA for other potential antitrust violations and must drop their complaints in the three current open cases, which I don't know any of the details on these: House versus NCAA, Hubbard versus NCAA, and Carter versus NCAA. I don't know if House versus NCAA, Nate, would that be JR House potentially?
Sure. I don't know.
JR House, former Pirates prospect. I don't
Could
know if
be.
that's potential. This is what I thought was most interesting. The NCAA's Board of Governors and leaders from the Power Five, ACC, Big Ten, Big 12, SEC, and Pac-12 voted to accept the general terms laid out in the 13-page document. Notre Dame also agreed to the settlement as a member of the ACC. Why do we care about the Pac-12 aside from the 2016 to current?
Right, historically.
That's historically how it's going to have to play out. I get that. That's just dumb to me that we got the Pac-12 signing off something when they're no longer a conference, and then
I mean,
Notre Dame isn't.
they still have two teams. You got to sign off on it, right?
Yeah, I mean they still have teams from the past. I get all that.
No, I mean, they
It's just
still have
silly
two
to me.
regular teams.
I think they're talking about the Power Five teams in the past from the Pac-12.
I
The
got you.
Pac-12 as a conference is not going to be from now forward. It's going to be from now to 2016,
Okay.
back to 2016, and Notre Dame is also in the mix.
Nobody cares about Notre Dame. Moving on.
Moving on.
But they're in because they're claiming as a member of the ACC.
Oh,
Um,
so you can claim a conference then. Okay, got it.
it's Notre Dame. They get to do all sorts of fun stuff to put through this. So, right, with all of this going on and this $20 million of money that'll be distributed, what does this look like, not just for the Power Five, but now like the other conferences, all of these non-Power Five football conferences and any other conference that doesn't have access to, at the very least, this $20 million? And are they going to be able to support their programs knowing that the major conferences have this at their disposal?
I think these other conferences are really going to rely heavy on transfer portal going forward.
Yeah, they're going to
Because
be the minor
everybody's going to want
leagues.
to go. Yeah, because everybody's going to want to go Power Five, try to make their money,
Mhm.
and then when they realize that they can't play, then they're going to go back down to these Group of Five or whatever you want to call them now.
Or they'll cut their teeth right and be able to show out, and they'll be like, "Oh, now it's time for me to get recruited."
Mm-hmm.
But this is going to be interesting. I mean, and I don't think any of us have the answer on what NIL is going to look like moving forward, but um, it, something has to, I don't know, change, or I don't know if it's gonna what I don't know what's going to change and what the timeline on it changing will be.
I'm a firm believer that the schools are going to take over NIL. Firm believer.
because of all the points you said before.
Yeah, I just think it's the inevitable. Like, I think it's just evolution. I think it's the way that the schools see the liability for themselves. I think the players, I think you look at Marvin Harrison Jr. and his contract snafus. I think that in the long run, schools will say, wait a minute, let's get our hands around this. Let's make sure we're the ones controlling the pie. And that's how it will be. That free market will go away eventually.
Yeah, I mean that would be, in all honesty, that would be the worst. When I say the worst thing for the players compared to what they have access to now,
Oh yeah, but like
right?
think evolution of humans. Like you can't let them run wild, and that's
Well, the problem is that they've had a taste,
I think they'll rein it in.
right? That's going to be rolling back the amount of money that you can earn as a collegiate athlete. And I think that's going to be the biggest issue is, oh, you let us earn this unlimited amount, and for donors, these NIL collectives, that money's going to start drying up.
Yep.
John Abraham, that's just me making him a name. John Q down in Texas, who's oil rich and wants to give 5 million plus to Texas A&M to go only towards the quarterbacks, is not going to be able to do that anymore. Which I agree is probably better for the programs as a whole, but is not going to be better for the recruitment of quarterbacks at Texas A&M.
I I think that's how it will go. I really do. Like in my gut, I think that there will be some kind of major catastrophe of everybody running wild, and there will be a call for the schools to take it over if schools already aren't inching that way slowly. I'm not saying it'll be in the next 5 years, but I
Yeah.
think it will be a thing. I think Ohio State, I think Alabama, schools like that are already kind of tiptoeing that direction.
Yeah. Who knows with Alabama now? Not
No,
Saban's.
I think that was part of that whole save and leaving thing. I think they're starting to hear the call of, uh-oh, we've let Pandora out of the box, and Big Brother NCAA wanted nothing to do with it, so we got to handle it ourselves.
Well, the NCAA handled it to some degree, setting precedent.
Yeah,
So
poorly.
I don't know if this is precedent. This is
Yeah, okay.
precedent setting what they're doing. I'm not gonna say this is a poor way to set a precedent. I'm gonna say it's 10 years overdue, but
Correct. That's what I mean.
yeah,
Yeah.
they set a precedent by settling these lawsuits and working with the conferences on this. So 10 years too late, but it's happened. In this vein, Jaden Rashada, a college football player who was once recruited by Florida, has sued the program's coach, their officials, and a big money donor in the first legal dispute over an unrealized name, image, likeness deal after he says he was offered millions of dollars to commit to Florida, who then later abandoned, and then he abandoned other offers only to never have those promises fulfilled. Rashada will play at Georgia this season, sued athletic booster Hugh Hathcock and his business, which was going to be offering the NIL deal, University of Florida football coach Billy Napier and the NIL director Marcus Castro Walker, alleging several counts of fraud, negligence, interference with a business contract. So this all is under the premise that a contract exists. This is like the Marvin Harrison Jr. thing, right? Oh, we got a contract. Do you? Do we really? Who has that copy? Rashada, who was 19 at the time, said he was lured away from other offers, including a $9.5 million NIL offer to play at the University of Miami, as he was offered over almost 14 million over 4 years, which came from the booster himself. Napier was accused of promising Rashada a $1 million payment on the day he signed his letter of intent at Florida, which the complaint says he was never paid. And the lawsuit claims involved another young player who changed their tune and went back on their words, blah, blah, blah. The filing includes exchanges from all these people, agents, etc., and so forth. So this is where NIL goes wrong.
That's what I'm saying. You're gonna have more of this. More of this.
Baby
And what
Gronk.
better school than Florida? Like,
Yeah, that's yes. What's Baby Gronk gonna do? He's already flipped like 4 times.
It's wild to me that 13.8 million.
Over 4 years is what was alleged.
Kids. These are kids. You give me 13.8 million over 4 years when I was 19 years old. Somebody's pulling me out of gutter at 20.
A lot of Jack Daniels you can buy there, Tim.
So much.
You might even go. You may have found a taste for something different if you had almost $14 million.
Guaranteed.
I'm just talking on the alcohol front, not even the other things that could have come into play.
Yes.
So I think your major would have been mixology.
Yeah. It would have been rough.
Hotel management.
It would have been bad.
What are you managing? I manage the bar at the
Yeah.
hotel. That's what I manage. So yeah, that's where NIL goes wrong, and I don't disagree that's the case in point of why things need to be changed sooner rather than later. Moving into the NFL. The
I don't want
NFL's.
to be the old man on the porch here.
I'll do it. Go ahead. Alex isn't here, so one of you has to be.
Are they going to school? Like at that point, $13.8 million. Are you sitting through your
You're
gen
staying
eds?
eligible. That's what you're doing, Jim. You're staying eligible.
I don't even know if I would be like, yeah, I'm going to English 101. Like,
As I've understood it, a lot of these high profile that are not pursuing, and I'm not saying Jalen Rashad is one of them, but uh, that aren't pursuing a intense major. They're like it's not Andrew Luck going for an engineering degree at Stanford,
right.
right? They're enrolled in online programs,
The
which
entire time.
for the majority of them. Like you heard about Angel Reese when her fame blew up, she switched to a fully online program. I think Livy Dunn was a fully online program. I don't remember hearing anything about Caitlin Clark, but that's Iowa. I feel like that's just different,
What
a
else are you
different
going to do but
scenario.
go to class?
Right. So, but yeah, you hear a lot of these high profile NIL players being in like these fully online courses, unless they are pursuing a pre-professional program or a very academically intensive program that requires you to be in
And then
seat.
somebody else is taking my class for me?
If you're online, yeah, there's a good chance that somebody's doing that work. It
I
may
mean,
not
I'm
be
paying
you.
somebody one of those million. I'm like, hey, give me an A.
I don't even know if you need a million to do it. You
I'm
don't. You don't
going
need an A,
sleep.
Jim. You don't need an A. You just need to stay above a 2.0.
I'm going to football practice and sleep. And when the sun goes down, I'm getting drunk
Wash, rinse, repeat.
over and over and over again.
Give him a Ric Flair in there.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Woo.
And let me tell you, there's some other things I'm going to be doing.
Nate, do you have any other thoughts on NIL and what you would do if you had $13 million in college?
If I had $13 million in college, I have no idea what I'd do with it all. Definitely wouldn't be living on campus, that's for sure.
No.
Well, if the schools have it, Jim, hey, you have to live on campus to get this money.
Right?
Nah, they, most likely not in these cases.
No.
There's exceptions to those rules for sure. In the NFL, they are going to start testing optical tracking systems to measure first downs in the preseason. If
I don't
all
know why we
goes
don't.
well, they're going to implement it during this upcoming regular season. If things don't go as planned, they're going to delay implementation until 2025. These optical tracking systems, which would use microchips that are already installed in NFL footballs, designed to measure distances more accurately and reduce human error. Are
No
we a fan?
offense. No offense to Nate, but like, wouldn't that get rid of the chain gang? We don't need them anymore.
Uh, they will
Pretty
still
much.
be in the stadium.
We don't need them.
Honestly, I think I remember seeing some college games last year that they just have like a down marker at the line to gain and it says like yards to go, X.
I'm about
I mean,
it. Let's do it.
So they still need the chains as a backup if something goes wrong with the tech, which you have to plan for, and as a reference point for coaches, players, and anybody else. Like, not everybody's going to be able to see what's on TV.
wait, you mean they can't see that yellow line on TV?
This is just like hockey with the boards, the rotating board banners.
I'm sorry, but like the coaches should have an iPad at this point. Like, and the ball should communicate to the iPad. Like, let's go.
Yeah, but that then takes away the on screen, like all these, just like in tennis, the out in call. Like this is going to be one of those like highly dramatized situations where up on the big board they like start from the clouds and hone down in right on the ball, and it's like, oh, it's a first down. Like they can definitely make this a thing.
I love it. And I will talk about this more in softball, but let's go.
Yeah, the league did try this out last season at MetLife Stadium and Hard Rock Stadium. So
Okay.
that it
How'd
was
it go?
whether or not we obviously well enough that they want to full scale it into the preseason, Jim.
Let's do it.
And obviously, in addition to the NFL stadiums, if they're going to do this, they also have to make sure the international stadiums are ready to go for this year's games.
International stadiums.
What about the international stadiums, Jim? Say screw them. Give them the chain gang.
Yeah, why not?
Make them sog through the lack of technology like we had to for
You know there's going to be
decades.
some Australian volunteer that's like, I'll do it.
Why does he have to be Australian, Jim?
Because that's where he wants to go. You hear Goodell? He's hunting for Australian venues.
Oh yeah, they have a. I mean, Australia is probably, Nate, would you say, especially in the kicking world?
Oh yeah, I mean that's what is it? That Aussie rules football.
Hmm. Yeah, they have a huge following in Australia.
Let's do it. Bluey and Bingo and
Nate, as an official, how do you feel about this?
About the measurement of the balls, I mean, I don't mind it whatsoever.
you don't
I mean,
mind measuring balls?
Does Sam measure your balls?
I mean that's for another show,
A couple
but no, I
weeks
mean
ago,
I
it was
don't
for
mind.
this show, if I remember right, something about her.
But no, I mean I don't mind it whatsoever because I mean nobody wants to stop the game and say, all right, let's bring out the chains. Everybody get out of the way because nobody wants to get out of the way of the chains. Then you got to get there and then make sure, okay, do I have this chain exactly on this yard line? I mean, we've seen just like the review system in the UFL, XFL, whatever. I mean, they're like, okay, this is what I've got. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go on. I mean, hopefully
Yep.
it's as quick and simple as this. It's like, all right, we're going to review the footage. We're going to use the chip on the ball. Okay, we're about half a yard short. Put the ball half a yard short and let's go.
Boom.
There it is from the official himself. And lastly, in football news,
Is
Antonio
this even
Brown.
football news or is this like lastly in dumb fuck news?
Perfect. Lastly, in dumbfuck news, Antonio Brown has filed for bankruptcy. We're gonna go in kind of a chronological order here. Much of
I
this
think Muff's having a
information
stroke.
was
First it's
reported
footage.
footage, footage, Foodij is the phonetic spelling, footage. Um, but much of this was reported directly from the Times Union, so there is a source to this, Jim. It's not
Okay.
just random Twitter person.
Okay.
So Antonio Brown has filed for bankruptcy, and currently owes 8 creditors nearly $3 million. In the Chapter 11 filing, Brown claims he has less than 50 grand in current assets. And for reference, he earned over $88 million in his playing career. We're going to go back about 4 years ago. In January 2020, Brown was arrested after failing to pay $4,000 to a moving company whose driver sued Brown for assault and battery. Brown was suspended for 8 games during his playing career in order to pay the driver $1.2 million. Should still be a drop in the bucket for him, yeah?
True.
April 2021, Brown settles a sexual assault case with his former trainer. While the settlement details are private, Brown previously denied a $2.7 million offer, but was ordered to pay 100 grand by a judge for breaking confidentiality. So again, imagine that's probably still in the neighborhood of 1.5 to 2.5 million that he's paying
Yeah.
on that. September 2021, Brown is sued by KBC Marketing for not paying his agent more than $2 million in earnings. The company sought 100 grand in damages.
Plus the 2 million.
I'm assuming plus the 2 million. I think
Right.
we've got this started to build this here, right? He doesn't like to pay people. Doesn't like to pay people. In March 2023, Brown says buys 47.5% of the Albany Empire for 350 grand. Soon after, the team was kicked out of the National Arena League because Brown failed to pay. There's something going on in the water today. A $1,000 fine. Brown also failed to pay his coaches and staff, although a lawsuit was never filed in that particular situation. That was pretty in the news, right? Not because of the amount of
Yep.
money, but because he was involved. In April 2023, Brown is sued by a celebrity jeweler who loaned Brown 2 diamond fingers that cost $500K each. Brown never returned the jewelry and was ordered to pay $1.1 million by a judge. Also, per the Times Union, Brown still owes $100K plus in credit card debt, $296 to a plumber. Right, he owes that plumber $296, and Brown has also had to settle with private chefs and moving companies several times for unpaid wages as high as $38K. According to the court filings, Brown is also unable to pay at least 3 six-figure civil suits that he has lost. Where's all of Brown's money if he's filing for bankruptcy, Jim?
Oh, he blows it.
Well, we know that.
He's got
Probably
some
with Shohei's
nose candy.
interpreter.
But yeah,
What's that, Nate?
Probably with Shohei's interpreter.
Wouldn't that be a thing if that was true?
I mean, with Antonio Brown, anything's possible.
Less than 50K in assets, Jim.
I don't believe that.
I mean, unless he's had like houses foreclosed and like I got to imagine he's got more sitting around than that.
I mean, it's possible. It's possible.
I mean, if he held on to those diamond fingers, he's got $1 million just in assets right there.
Yeah, but from a financial standpoint, he may not have any of that in his name.
Okay.
Like now that I'm thinking about how this works, like nothing may be in his name.
Would it be in the name of
A holding company
okay.
or a family member, you know what I mean? Like
Okay.
because of his like let's just go back to bullet point 3.
Mm-hmm.
By the time he got to bullet point 3, if shit wasn't his name, he swiftly got it out of his name.
Right. So he couldn't be sued for
Right.
everything he was worth, quote unquote.
Yeah. Or Brown LLC, you know what I mean? Like
Right. They're not suing him as a person. Well, they're suing
Right.
him as a person. Him as a person doesn't have a lot of money.
correct.
Doesn't have a lot of liquid assets, I should say.
Correct. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Okay. But he's still on Twitter.
Yeah.
He's still his CTESPN kick,
Yeah.
putting out people of the day, and I'm going to leave it at people of the day.
What an idiot.
So, what's next for Antonio Brown? What's next in the saga? If we had to guess, because I think anything's possible.
He'll promote something.
Okay.
Well, didn't I just see that he went with Le'Veon Bell and was like ringside with him at his last fight?
Not just ringside. He was part of the walkout.
I could also see him like, and this is not a political statement, but I could see it. I could see him out there with Trump campaigning. Like, because that's up his wheelhouse.
Whose? Both? Yes.
Yes.
I don't know. I can see him trying to make some type of weird return to some football league. Do you think The Rock would let him play for the UFL?
No.
The USFL?
No. The
I don't
Rock's
even
not
think
dumb.
I don't even think the Canadian League takes him.
Is he
Actually,
allowed?
I think his playing days are over.
Yeah. If you retire from the NFL, are you allowed to play in any other leagues?
I don't know.
I don't know. I have that answer. I'm just curious. Like, wonder if you like sign something that's like you can never play football professionally ever again by retiring from the
Try to
NFL.
start some like league, and I don't know. We mentioned Australia earlier. Maybe he'll go try to start in some Australian league.
I have no idea.
We're gonna find him somewhere, and hopefully it's not dead in a ditch. None of us need that. No response from you two. I feel like you two may not be as tore up about that as I might be.
Moving on.
Moving on. Some playoff updates. First, in the NBA, the Celtics and Pacers are playing right now, and the Celtics have a 3-0 series lead led by Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Does anybody have any live look in here?
No, because nobody cares.
Yeah, they ought to change it from the NBA to the NBC.
The Nobody Cares League, the NBCL.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm gonna look because I've been watching some games. Boston's up 55-51 with about 2 minutes left to go in the first half. In this series, there's been lots of talk about the number of fouls and foul shots in games as people are pointing to the narrative that the league is pushing the Celtics to get to the finals over the small market Pacers.
Yeah.
It was also a conversation in the last series with the Knicks and the Pacers, which the Pacers were still victorious.
The
It's
league
also
wanted the Knicks versus the Pacers. Or the
the Celtics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I also read something today that was interesting that you would think as somebody who's trying to push right the NBA and these conference championship series and try to get more buzz around it, especially through ESPN, that you hear more from Pat McAfee with the Pacers. Use him as a mouthpiece to help get some more excitement about the Pacers, but they have not. So it only feeds more into the narrative that we don't really want the Pacers to win.
Okay. It's
Who are the Pacers?
basketball.
Say it again, Nate.
Who are the Pacers? You mean like pace cars?
Bingo. Indy 500. The Mavericks are up 3-0 over the Timberwolves with three hard-fought wins as Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving are leading the Mavs. All of this said and done, right? We have two 3-0 series right now. Both could be tied up by, or both could be finished by the end of the day on Tuesday, today, as we release this episode, which could be potentially the worst case scenario for the NBA when it comes to their final scheduling, because if both teams sweep the conference finals, they would have a 10-day layoff between the end of the conference finals and the beginning of the finals, because the finals will start on Thursday, June 6th, no matter what.
Okay.
It's the most terrible scheduling thing I've ever seen in my life. 10-day layoff. If people already don't care about basketball, like Jim and Nate, the people that do care about basketball are going to forget that it's happening after a week and a half.
Well, and for me, for a player, I feel like you've got all that momentum going forward. It's like I don't want 2 weeks off and then expect to go play in a championship.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad enough with the Super Bowl. I think that's a little bit harsh for them too. But I mean, I don't know. Just my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, for NBA teams that play once every 2 or 3 days, typically, right, that would be the equivalent of waiting like 3 or 4 weeks for a Super Bowl. Like when you think of how often they play.
Right.
So, all
It's
right, Jim.
kind of like with bowl season.
Yeah, it is exactly, yeah, very much like that. Yeah, the payoff there is a whole different situation. Huh. Jim, since you don't want to talk about the NBA, I'll let you talk about the NHL.
Rangers are tied up 2-1 in the East.
They're tied up 2-1. Nice.
Or the Rangers are up 2-1 in the East. After an OT win on Sunday. Stars and Oilers are the ones who are tied up playing now. Nate, live look in, please.
Right now, live looking in Game 3, Oilers are up 2-0.
Who do I want to win this? I think I want the Stars to win this. I think overall that's who I want to win this.
Oh no, I think I want Edmonton to win just because I think it's more entertaining to watch when a Canadian team's in it.
Yeah, that's true.
Connor McDavid,
All right.
like
they
the
keep
next
thinking that
one.
he's playing through an injury
I
because he hasn't been lighting up the stat sheet like he has been.
but they're still winning, so I think who cares? I mean, he was today. I think he has a goal and assist today.
I know he has at least one assist on the second goal.
He scored the second goal. He had an assist on the first goal.
Yes, you're right. I do. Yes, I do have this game on in the background.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want the Rangers to win.
Yeah,
I
the
know
first
that much.
goal. Yeah, the first goal he basically shot it off a teammate, and then the second goal he got a rebound that the goalie lost last second and just tipped it in.
All right. And
So
other
you
news.
want Florida Dallas.
Yeah, I think so. I'll take the Canadian team. I do not want the Rangers to win.
I do not want the Rangers to win either.
There we go. In
me-
unrelated news
Give
for
me
the
the
playoffs,
Rangers.
of course you do. The Pens hired Yammer Yager to the front office, which means we'll start seeing 40-plus-year-olds on the Penguins sweater, right?
Yes, Jim. Yarmir Yager is going to start recruiting the Russian contingent of 35, 40-plus-year-olds to be on the
I think
Penguins
you guys
roster.
will be in good shape.
Yeah, before you know it, Jim, next year the first line will be Yager, Crosby, and Lemieux.
Bunch of ancient guys.
You know what, Nate? That would That would boost attendance.
It would for you Yinzers. And then the Kraken hired a new coach, Dan
Bilesma.
Bilesma,
Yes.
2009 coach of the Penguins.
Correct.
He was one of those coaches that got in and got out.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
Just get used to seeing the stretch passes.
I'm excited.
What is happening, Nate?
Yeah.
Fireworks, Muff. Fireworks.
Is it really?
Yes.
All right. Softball. Okay. So into the World Series, we have Alabama versus UCLA, Duke versus Oklahoma, Texas versus Stanford, Oklahoma State versus Florida. Games that you should have watched this last weekend: Tennessee versus Alabama, 14-inning overtime in game 2. Amazing. Oklahoma won 2 games straight, was pretty much over. Didn't have to play the rest of the weekend against Florida State. What other games I watched? Texas lost game 1, came back in game 2, and damn near lost game 3, upsetting number 1. Almost lost to Texas A&M. Won in the end, 9-8 after a comeback in late innings.
Who won? Texas. Okay.
Missouri and Duke went back and forth. But Duke finally pulled out, the win, so they're in. Yeah, that was the super regional games that I think you should most definitely watch. Thursday at 2:30, Duke and Oklahoma should be a hell of a game. Oklahoma State and Florida, the Thursday night game, should be a fun game to watch. I think Texas beats the shit out of Stanford. I don't like watching UCLA play. They play Alabama at noon on Thursday, but I like watching it. Good shit. I'm rooting for Oklahoma. We'll see what happens.
Do you make your kids watch it with you?
Oh, they hate me. In fact, as revenge, I had to watch My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 and 3 today because the last 2 weekends I've made them watch softball.
Do your kids wanted to watch that?
Yeah, they wanted to watch that.
I've never seen them, so.
So I take it there's 0% chance that your kids play softball.
Tessa wants to. Zadie most definitely does not.
So, but Tessa doesn't like watching it.
She does. I think it was the flipping back between that and racing that pissed her clean the fuck off.
Dad, choose one.
She was big mad.
In other interesting news in sports.
Interesting news in sports.
Starting in the WNBA, the LA Sparks versus the LA Lakers. And no, not in a real matchup on the hardwood, but the Sparks versus Fever game last Friday drew a crowd of 19,103, which is more than any Lakers game this past season, with their highest draw, which, remember, they have LeBron James, Anthony Davis on their team, was 18,997.
What are we attributing that to?
Well, that would be Caitlin Clark, who plays for the Fever, and Cameron Brink, who plays for the Sparks.
All right, then. Fair enough.
That is compelling evidence about how unpopular the NBA may be, or how popular the WNBA is at this moment.
I'm okay with it.
So that was interesting. And also in the WNBA, the Las Vegas Aces have waived Daisha Fair not even 10 games into the season. The former Syracuse guard is the 3rd leading scorer in college women's basketball history, just coming into the league this year after graduating. There is speculation there may be some internal strife issues of her not getting along with the team, whatever it may be, but it's a pretty quick, hey, you're gone situation. So many are hoping that she finds a place to go
Lands on
after
another
this.
team.
Yeah, lands on another team. Whatever was the issue in Las Vegas is not the issue wherever she ends up later. But that's pretty quick pulling the pulling the trigger on this for somebody who's the third leading scorer in women's basketball history.
Yeah.
Like that's got to be something that's pretty big within that locker room, within that organization.
So are we gonna find out what happens, or is it gonna be one of those what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas?
That's a good question, Nate. I have a feeling this one's gonna stay. This one's gonna stay tight to the team, maybe to Vegas. I'm not sure where it happened, but yeah, not a lot of love again for from current players towards a new player in the league. The Pac-12 ends its conference tournament history as Arizona walks off with a win over USC in their baseball tournament, presumably the final sporting event for a conference with a 100 plus year history. How do we feel about that? This being the end of the Pac-12 as we know it.
I don't think it's really kind of set in because we're not in Pac-12 country.
Right.
And it's not football season.
Right.
But I think we would notice it then because we don't have 10 o'clock games to watch.
I mean, we might have 10 o'clock games to watch eventually, but I think when we first start watching some of those Pac-12 teams and go, what the hell is that logo on the field?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right here, it's Gus Johnson from USC.
That's
God.
gonna be weird.
That I didn't think it could get worse, but I think you just made it worse for me, Nate. He's gonna have a whole other set of teams to cheer for Iowa against.
Mm-hmm.
In other college baseball news, Division III Birmingham Southern has made it to the D3 World Series that starts May 31st, where they will represent a school that no longer exists as they're going to be shut down prior to May 31st.
I don't know anybody else in the field, but damn, am I rooting for them to win in this and make
Right.
Get them all the way through. And Nate, you have a tidbit about somebody who's on that team.
So I saw a TikTok and I had to confirm to make sure it was legit. So the Birmingham Southern's ace pitcher, I can't remember his first name, but LaRoche, which some of you Yinzers might not recognize the name Adam LaRoche, who is a former Bucco first baseman. And at the time, after he left the Buccos, he went to the White Sox, and he was bringing his kid into the clubhouse pretty often, apparently. And the White Sox were saying, hey, can you bring your kid in the clubhouse a little bit less? And he said, no, I'll just retire. So he did. And now that kid that was coming into the major league clubhouses is now the ace pitcher for Birmingham Southern.
All right.
There it is. And lastly, I think this was current. I don't think this was a recycle, but the center fielder getting the ball in the outfield and ultimately running down the base runner between second and third and home. Nate, was that a legit new video or was that recycled?
I had not seen that video before, so I'm going to assume it's new. And I want to know, where the hell was the infield at?
Nobody. They were all gone.
Yeah.
Where was the pitcher?
No, like, where were they?
Where was the pitcher? Where was the catcher? At least somebody.
Like, where's the catcher? Where's the third baseman? Anybody?
Nate, Jim, did you see this?
I did not.
We'll have to send it to you later. Quite literally, a center fielder ran him down and
Like the guy round second base and is heading to third, and the center fielder's like, shit, no one's at third. And then the guy's like, wait, no one's at the plate. And here goes the center fielder going straight down the field and gets him out at the plate.
Yeah. Had to dive to tag him out, Jim.
That's crazy.
It's pretty athletic feat that was going on there. Next in the fight game, Jim.
Oh, Mike Tyson suffers a medical emergency on a flight from Miami to LA. He's doing great. He became nauseous and dizzy due to an ulcer flare-up 30 minutes before landing. He appreciates the medical staff that were there to help him. This man's going to fight the Paul brother and had a flare-up and was dizzy and nauseous due to an ulcer.
Jim, does your tune change at all about who's going to win this fight?
I don't feel great.
You didn't put any money down on that yet, I hope.
No. I wasn't going to do it anyway because it's rigged, but
have the odds changed? I'm curious.
Yeah, I would think they got to have.
I think there was a story out there initially that was saying it was a major medical emergency and it forced them to land. Like
that's what I had seen originally.
But nah, it has been stated otherwise. Whether that is truth or not, I don't know, but it's been stated that what was in this statement was the legit situation, not an emergency landing or anything based on the medical issue.
Right.
So do we think that's some grandstanding of the situation to make sure that people don't think that he's not fit to fight Jim?
I don't know. I feel real bad about it. Like, I don't know.
I mean,
think-
an ulcer flare up is just a fluke. I mean, I think Mike will be fine.
He gets punched in the gut. Is another ulcer flare up.
Right.
Listen,
Like-
that brother's not going to test me. I don't have to worry about no ulcer.
I I don't know if he can go the distance. That's the thing. Like, he better swing and he better swing for the fences.
I don't think we have to worry about that.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, he
First
better
20
just
or 30
knock
seconds
his head
of
off.
first 20 or 30 seconds of every round in which he's competing, I think they're gonna be fast-paced action.
Ugh. I'm just hoping.
Let's see, and that's on July 20th, I believe. Free on Netflix, by the way.
We'll
Free.
see. We'll
Free on
see.
Netflix. I don't think there's a We'll See, Jim. I think that's been announced.
I'm still thinking about Mike.
You don't think you just don't think he's gonna make it?
I don't know.
It's just expensive promotion to never be.
I just think it could be one of those where he just gets knocked out. Like, it's over. One gut punch and it's ball game over.
He looks good though.
Yeah.
In other news, going back to the golf world, Scotty Scheffler is still going through the judicial process after it was misreported that all charges were going to be dropped by Louisville PD, as this past week brought the first video footage of the incident itself, revealing the officer in question running to Scheffler's vehicle after clearing the blocked view from behind a bus, with the officer slamming his flashlight on Scheffler's driver window, ultimately then reaching into the window before Scheffler is not pulled from the vehicle, but the door opens and he exits the vehicle. There's no body cam footage exists, as was stated previously, and Louisville is still pressing all of the charges, including the second-degree felony.
Yeah. See, that to me, like, take the L. There's got to be a way for Louisville to save face. Like, ugh. Looks so stupid, Louisville. What are you doing?
It has also come to light that the officer involved, Detective Brian Gillis, has received corrective action after an internal investigation into the matter at hand for not following protocols, which included not turning on his body cam.
Right. Turn on the camera, dumbass.
Apparently, I don't know what all the other protocols in play were that he did not follow. I bet one of them is smashing her flashlight off a driver's window.
It
What are you
may
talking
not
about?
be.
That car just came out of nowhere and hit his flashlight.
Right.
Jim, you said this last week, and I am now more willing to entertain that maybe he did soil his pantaloons.
I'm telling you, he shit himself.
This has gained more and more traction throughout the past week, and it doesn't look like. I mean, it's very grainy footage. Sorry, but it doesn't look like he's got like ripped pants when he's running towards that vehicle.
Yeah, he shot his pantaloons.
Maybe it was when he banged that flashlight. He just got a little, just like doing a deadlift. He just got a little too much into it.
Yeah, just
Squat. He was squatting.
blew it
The
out.
squat got the best of him.
Really?
Also, according to WLKY in Louisville, Gillis has been suspended at least 3 times, the most recent coming in 2013. In 2013, he was reportedly suspended by LMPD for 5 days after he was allegedly doing donuts in a parking lot with his police car while an intoxicated civilian was inside. This is the guy that we're going to trust his reporting.
This guy's an asshole.
Like, this is like the OJ case, just not as high stakes.
Oh, you're drunk? Here, let me make you pay the price.
You're, I still, this is like Super Troopers. Like, this is Super Troopers
Yeah.
in real life of what he was doing right there. You boys like Mexico? Yeah.
Right.
A year before that, in 2012, he reportedly served a 4-day suspension for violating the department's policy on court attendance.
Hey, he didn't show up.
Yeah, records reportedly also say he had been disciplined for violating the policy 4 different times from 2010 to 2011. On 2 of those occasions, he was suspended for a day. I did see that he had received numerous commendations during his time with the LMPD, one of which was
For beating black people.
for writing an obscene number of citations in a 1 day period. I've got to imagine this is like, a setup station, right, where they're pulling people through.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no
On Martin
headlight,
Luther King Day on Martin Luther Boulevard.
no headlight. This is not why I brought up OJ, but okay, Jim. Headlight out, tail light out. I think when I say obscene, I want to say this was like 150 plus.
Yeah, him and his buddies got together, and he was like, "Hey, you want to go for the record?" And I'm like, "All right, let's do this."
And they did it.
That's exactly what happened.
And they most
And
certainly
the boss
did.
was like, "Man, you're getting accommodation for this. We're gonna get that radar gun today here in Louisville."
I think there was like the police commissioner at the time came out and was like, "We're commending you for your diligence towards whatever was going on." I was like,
And he was like, "Yes,
I
I
want to
did
say
good."
he wrote like 200 plus citations and
I'm sure he
150
did.
and 150-ish of them were actually like held up.
I'm sure.
I bet he was at court for all those ones.
I bet he was. He's like, I gotta make this money. Boss says we need a new radar gun.
They got him. And they got him.
Then I can drink at work.
That was the only drunk people in the back, Jim, while he's doing
My
donuts.
fault.
Not him drinking, it's other people. All right, any other
I
sports
get new
news?
tires on my cop car.
He's getting a whole new car with that many citations, Jim.
I get the Charger this time, baby.
Any other sports news?
No.
Nate, what are we're refereeing baseball?
Yep, still doing baseball. I think I've got 6 games in the next 7 days.
So Nate,
So Jim.
I'm watching softball, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a replay. Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
know you don't have replay in your world. All right. But there's a referee challenge where they can challenge their own call. Like
I don't know why you'd want to do that, but okay.
maybe they missed something.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, I can understand it from like the coaches challenge kind of thing.
Right.
I did see where teams had like 2 challenges each, but like I wouldn't be a proponent of the officials challenge because then to me that just shows that you're already doubting the call you just made.
That's how I felt. Also,
Like if the coaches want to do it, fine, whatever. I mean, just like NFL, I mean, it's just going to work its way down.
well, here's the scenario, and I want to say it's the softball because it's huge, but it brushed the player's pantalones,
Mm-hmm.
and the question was, was it a ball 4, or did it hit the player?
The result's the same. What's the matter?
Why challenge it?
I mean, it's not like Little League where if you hit too many kids, you're out.
Right? Why challenge it? Very silly. Very silly.
That is silly. Still a perfect game's out the window, if that's what you're worried about for the pitcher.
I just don't. I don't get it.
Is that it still a no-hitter date, even though they hit somebody with a pitch? Oh,
Depends on the eye of the beholder.
It was a very silly situation. That's all I got.
that's all. All right, Nate. Well, you stay cool, buddy. It's supposed to be better weather for you this week, though, as far as temperature.
Yeah,
until
it's
the
rain.
weekend.
Yeah, some rain in the forecast Tuesday, Wednesday, so we'll see if those games get played.
All right. Well, that wraps up another week of sports stuff with Jim and Muff, plus Nate, without Alex. So you can get on YouTube and see Alex's smiling face, as Jim said F you to Alex many times regarding Alex and I's WVU season ticket purchase.
Silly.
We're going to have great seats for that WVU Penn State game, Jim.
You will. That's true.
I may or may not make it out alive within the heart of WVU fandom.
Are
But-
you going to wear? What color are you going to wear?
We're Penn State gear, bro.
But are you going to do the whole white out in regards to their blackout?
I have a blue jersey.
Nah, see, then you're not doing it right. Like, you need to be the white that sticks out in the black.
I don't. Well, we haven't determined. It hasn't been official that that's the Cole jersey yet.
They're gonna do the Cole jersey then.
Let's hope, because I actually would like to see that in person.
Me too. But you didn't invite me. Anyway,
You're all invited, Jim. Everyone's invited. She may not be
Jim, I
here.
think you're on the record of saying you would not step foot in Morgantown.
I have said that a couple times. All right, let's tell a friend, make a friend. Come on, Muff. Take us home.
All right. As always, make sure you interact with us on social media at Sports Jim Muff on Instagram and Twitter, Sports Stuff with Jim Muff on Facebook, on YouTube. Make sure that to keep this rocket ship going up, 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 up into the mummified moon, that you tell a friend, make a friend, be